Hey Shonda, here is another math video for you. Your GED Ready said that you needed some help with real-world linear equations. And basically all that is it's pretty much just other algebra equations where you're trying to figure out like what x is or what the missing number is, but it is in word problems. And so that's all it is. They call it linear equations, but it's just like 5x plus whatever equals yada yada yada, figure out what x equals, and we'll talk about it. We'll go over it together. So basically a linear equation, it just makes a straight line. Like whenever you graph it, it is going to make like a diagonal line or a straight line or like an up and down or like a horizontal line. But really, all you really need to know about these is that, hey, we try to solve for x. And so sometimes we have to write out what the equation is. Sometimes they don't give us the equation, but a lot of the times they do. And either way, if they give us the equation or they don't, again, it's still basically we're solving for x, just like most other algebra problems. So like, let's say that you got this problem, for instance. So you've got 4, and it has parentheses around 2x minus 1 equals 3x plus 6. So we are trying to figure out what x equals. That is our main goal. And so the way that we do that is we try to get our letters on one side. So let's say we want our letters on the left. I don't know my left and right anymore. And my numbers on the right-hand side. Now, I have a number outside parentheses. So the very first thing I have to do, because I've got a number outside parentheses, is distribute it. So that means that I take this 4 outside the parentheses and I multiply it by all the stuff that's inside. So 4 times 2 gives me 8, and that x goes along with it. And then I'm going to treat this minus 1 like a negative 1. So negative 1 times 4 gives me negative 4. And then I'm going to bring everything else down. And so again, I want to get my x's on the left and my numbers on the right. So I have a positive 3x right here. And so I want to do the opposite of a positive, or the opposite of adding, and I want to subtract. So I'm going to subtract 3x from this side, and then what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So I'm going to do that over here as well. So 8x minus 3x gives me 5x minus 4 equals, and then I bring down the 6. So now I'm going to do the same thing because I want to get the 4 onto that other side with the 6. I want my regular numbers together. So I have a minus 4, so I'm going to do the opposite of subtracting 4, which is adding 4. So I'm going to add 4 to make this go away, and then I'm going to add 4 here. So I end up getting 10 when I add 6 and 4, and then this 5x just comes on down. Now my x is not by itself yet. It has a 5 stuck to it. So anytime you see a number and a letter stuck together, that means that you're multiplying them. So we have to do the opposite of multiplying by 5, which is dividing by 5. So we're going to divide both sides by 5, and that makes our x be by itself. And then when we divide 10 by 5, we get 2. So our answer is x equals 2. Let's do another one. So this one, we're dealing with letter M. So they change the letters. It doesn't really matter what letter you use. They just like to change it up sometimes. So just like the last one, I have 2 numbers outside my parentheses. So these numbers are going to get distributed. Think of it like it's pizza. Everybody gets a slice. So everything in the parentheses, everything in that room gets a piece of the number that's outside the parentheses. So I have to multiply my 2 and my m together. So 2 times m gives me 2m. And then I do the same thing with my 2 and my 3. So 2 times 3 gives me 6. Bring down my equals. And I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. 5 times 6 gives me 30. And then 5 times negative 2 gives me negative 10. And the letter m is going to go with it. Now, again, I want to get my numbers over here and my letters over here. So I want to move this 10m over to be with the 2. So it's a minus 10. So I'm going to do the opposite of subtracting, which is adding. So I'm going to add 10m over here. And what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So I have to do it over here too. So 2 plus 10m gives me 12, and then the m just comes with it. And then I'm going to bring down my plus 6, and my equals 30. So now I have an m and a 6 on my left side and a regular 30 on my right side. So I want to get 6 to be over there with the 30. So I'm adding 6. How do I move it over to the other side? I've got to do the opposite. So the opposite of adding 6 is subtracting 6. And what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So 30 minus 6 gives me 24. And then I bring down my 12m. So again, my m isn't by itself yet. I've got to get rid of that 12. So I'm going to divide by 12 on both sides. And that gives me 2. Now, this is the exact, pretty much the same thing, except we are doing this in word problems. So, for instance, on number 1, Mandy's grandfather told her that he is 6 times her age. If Mandy is 10, how old is Mandy's grandfather? So, if we didn't know Mandy's age, and the grandfather is 6 times Mandy's age, it would be 6 times, let's say we'll use the letter M for Mandy. 6 times M. But they tell us that, hey, Mandy is 10, so we're going to go 6 times 10, which gives us 60. So we know that Mandy's grandfather is 60 years old. Okay, look at number 2. Each volunteer at the Crisis Center must have 30 hours of training. Nadia is doing 6 hours of training a day. She has already done 2 days of training. How many days of training does she have left? So first we need to write it as an expression, as an algebra problem. So she has to do 30. So that's her goal. That's how many she's got to get to. So what that means is we're going to put it on the right-hand side of the equals. So she's got to get 30. It all has to equal up to 30. And she does 6 hours of training a day. And she's already done 2 days of training. So she has to do 6 hours a day. And we don't know how many days she has to do. That's what we don't know. So we're going to put an X here. So because it's 6 hours times however many days. Plus, she's already trained for 2 days. So if she does 6 hours a day and she's already trained for 2 days, how many hours is she already trained? 12. So we have 6x plus 12 equals 30. And then we just have to solve for x. So I want to get, again, I want my letters over here and my numbers over here. So I want to get my 12 over here to be with the 30. So I'm adding 12. What's the opposite of adding 12? Subtracting 12. So I'm going to subtract 12 from both sides. And that gives me 18. And then the 6x comes on down. So remember, anytime that a number is next to a letter, that means that we're multiplying. So we have to do the opposite, and we have to divide. So we're going to divide both sides by 6. And 18 divided by 6 gives me 3. So how many days of training does she have left? 3. Alright, let's look at these two. In 3 days, Brett hauled 13 of the 20 loads of gravel he contracted for. The next day, he hauled 5 more loads. How many loads are left to haul? So again, with word problems, we think about, what do I already know? So he hauled 13. There are 20 total. The next day, he hauled 5 more loads. So how many does he have left? So if he already hauled 5, and he hauls 5 more, or he already hauled 13 and he hauls 5 more, how many did he haul total, like all together? 18. So if there's 20 loads total, How many loads does he have left? 2. Now look at number 4. Paulina and her 2 roommates are buying a clothes dryer for $4.25. Tax is $35.06 and delivery is $20. There's also a $180 rebate. If the total cost of the dryer is divided equally among the 3 roommates, how much does each roommate pay? So this is one where there's multiple steps to it. We have to do several things. So I know that the dryer is $4.25. I know that tax is $35.06 and delivery is $20. But there's also a rebate of $180. So basically that means they're getting $180 back. If the total cost of the dryer is divided equally, how much does the roommate pay? So first, we have to figure out what the total is. So we're going to add all these together because they're paying what the dryer costs plus the tax plus the delivery fee. So they are paying $480.06 total. But that rebate that they've gotten, that means that we can take that away. So that's money that they're getting back basically. So when we subtract those, we get $300.06. So that's how much that they owe. But I'm still not done. There's 3 roommates. So what I have to do, I have to divide this by 3. So each roommate is going to pay $100.02. So there's several steps to this. So whenever you get a word problem like this, you need to make sure you're going through every single step. Because even if you miss a step or if you mess a step up, it can affect the whole problem. Now number 5 is about the tax rate. The tax rate on Tiffany's house is $1.35 for every $100 of value. Her house is valued at $40,000. What will her tax be at the end of the year? So this says it's $1.35 for every $100 of value. So her house is valued at $40,000. What will the tax be? So the first thing that I've got to do, so it's valued. Oh, sorry, my bad. So the tax rate is $1.35 for every $100. So first of all, I have to figure out how many $100 there are. And so I do that by taking 40,000 and I'm going to divide it by 100. So there's $400 in there. And so for every $100, she is taxed $1.35. So we're going to take that 400 and we're going to multiply it by $1.35. And we get $540. So how much is she being taxed? She is being taxed $540. All right, let's look at number 6. Enrique puts $300 into a savings account at 5% interest per year. The earned interest on the $300 was added to the account at the end of the year. At the time, Enrique made an additional deposit of $200. How much does Enrique have in his account? So the first thing we have to do, the first thing we have to do on this one, so he starts with 300. And he's getting 5% interest per year. And so that interest was added on at the end of the year, and then he made $200 more. So first off, I got to figure out what interest is. And the way that I do that is I take 300 and I multiply it by 5%. And I get 15 when I do that. So that is the interest that he has earned in his savings account. So what we have to do with this, we have to add the interest to that $300. So that means that he has $315 in his bank account once he gets interest. At that time, he added an additional $200. So we're going to add 200 to that, and he gets $515. So how much does he have in his account at the end? $515. Okay, let's look at this one, number 7. So this one does not want us to actually solve it. They just want to know what equation would we use. And this is a good thing to practice because sometimes on math, they're not going to give you the equation before you have to solve it. So this is a good way to practice on that. So Ron's Veterans Group wanted to sell 500 poppies to raise funds for disabled veterans. On the first day of sales, they sold 10% of the flowers. The next day, in the next 3 days, they sold 70% of the remaining flowers. Which equation shows the total number of poppies sold? So what we do with a problem like this, you have to start off with how much he started with. So he started with 500 poppies. And then on that first day, he sold 10%. So if he sold them, that means that 10% of those went away. So it's that amount minus 10% of that 500. In the next 3 days, they sold 70% of the remaining flowers. So what they did, they multiplied that by 0.70. So what they had left here by that 70%. So which of those matches what we wrote? Letter C. All right, let's look at number 8. On Friday, Daryl did 5 20-minute oil changes, 3 tune-ups taking an hour each, and a 2-hour brake job at $30 per hour for labor. Which equation shows the total the garage charged for Daryl's labor? So I know that he did 5 20-minute oil changes. So basically, we'd have to somewhere multiply 5 times 20. He did 3 tune-ups that take an hour each. So that would be 3 times 60, because this one's already in minutes, so we're going to have to put this one in minutes too. And then he did a 2-hour brake job. So 2 times 60. And then basically all of this is going to be multiplied by 30. So in this case, our answer is C. And let me talk through how we got that. So what they did, they took that 30, because it's $30 for every hour. And so they put that outside all this other stuff that he's going to do. So that 3 tune-ups taking an hour each. So 3 tune-ups take an hour each, so that's 3 hours right there. And then they added 5 times 20 over 60. So that is the 5 20-minute oil changes. So 5 20 over 60. So that is just their way of saying, hey, it wasn't a whole hour. They did 5 20-minute sessions, and 20 comes out of 60 because there's 60 minutes in an hour. And then they added the 2, because that one is a 2, because he did a 2-hour brake job as well. So on this one, they don't want us to solve anything. They're just saying, hey, what is the problem? What is the equation for this one? So we end up getting letter C. All right, I just have a couple more, and then that'll be the end of this video. So, number 1, taxes on Lot A are $151 more than Lot B. The combined taxes on the 2 lots are $1,121. What are the taxes for each lot? So this one is an algebra problem where we have to figure out what our algebra problem would be and then how we would solve it. So again, we always write down the stuff that we know. We've got lot A and we have lot B. And I know that lot A is $151 more than lot B. So I know it's B. And how do we write 151 more? Plus 151. And I don't know anything about lot B, so I'm just going to make it the letter B. And it says that these combined is 1,121. So that means when we add these together, we get 1,121. So I'm going to draw a line, and I want to put the stuff together that's on the same side of the equal sign together. So I have a B and a B. So those are what's called like terms, so I can add those together. So if I add two B's together, I get 2B plus 151 equals 1,121. Now I want my 151 over here, so I'm going to do the opposite of adding, and I'm going to subtract on both sides. So 1121 minus 151 is 970. So 2B equals 970. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2 to get B by itself. So I get 485. So what are the taxes on each lot? So lot B is 485. That's what we solved. But if they want to know what lot A is, lot A is 151 more than B. So we're going to add 151 to that 485, and we get 636. So again, that's a two-stepper. It's really tempting to just get the answer for what A was, but that wasn't what the question was asking. They wanted to know what were the taxes for both of those. Now, number 2, last year's average daily attendance at Rockville High was 630 students less than Rockville Junior High. The combined average is 1,326. What was the attendance for each school? So again, we've got another two-stepper. So we know that together it's 1,326. Now, I have the high school and I have the junior high. I don't know anything about the junior high, so I'm just going to make it X. But then the high school is 630 less than the junior high. So it's the junior high minus 630. And what they're saying is that the high school and the junior high added together gives us this. So I'm going to write them like I'm adding it over here. And then I want to get X on one side and my numbers on the other. So I'm going to draw my dotted line down my equal sign. Now, is there anything on the left side of the equal sign that can go together that's on the same side? My X's. So I have 2x, minus 630 equals 1,326. So again, I want my letters over here and my numbers over here. So I've got to move my 630 to be over here. And I'm going to do the opposite of subtracting, and I'm going to add. So I get 1,956 equals 2x. So my x isn't by itself. I'm multiplying it by 2, so I've got to get rid of that 2. And how do I get rid of that 2? I divide both sides by 2. So when I divide by 2, I get 978. So 978 is what the junior high got. We also need to find out what the high school got. So we're going to take that. Notice it said it was 630 less, so we're going to add 630 to that. And we get 1608. All right, let's do these last two. So these are interest problems. These kind of deal with percents here, or at least number 3 does. The interest paid on Sue's savings account was $20 less than twice the interest paid on Kevin's account. The total interest paid on Sue's account was $36.73. How much was paid on Kevin's account? So again, we're going to write down what we know. We have Kevin and we have Sue. And what do I know about them? So the interest paid on Sue's was $20 less than twice the interest paid to Kevin. So the interest on Sue's was 20 less. So 20 less means we're going to subtract 20. And it was 20 less than what? Twice what Kevin paid. So we're going to say 2K. And I'm just going to use the letter K for Kevin. And then it says the total interest paid on Sue's account was $36.73. How much interest was paid on Kevin's? So we're going to make this 2K minus 20 equal to Sue's interest. And we're going to do that to figure out what Kevin's interest is. So again, I'm going to draw my line down my equals. And I'm subtracting 20. I want to get my 20 over here, so I got to do the opposite. So what's the opposite of subtracting 20? Adding 20. So I'm going to add 20. And make sure that you line it up because it is dollars. And I get 6, 5. Then I'm going to bring my 2K down. Now, I want K to be by itself. I'm multiplying it by 2, so the opposite of that is dividing it by 2. So 56.73 divided by 2 is $28, and it's 0.365, so we're going to round that up to 37 cents. So how much interest did Kevin pay? $28.37. All right, let's do one more. So the perimeter of a garage is 156 feet. It's twice as long as it is wide. What is the floor area? Hint, find the width, then the area. So they tell us, so our perimeter is 156. I know that. I know that the length is 2 times the width, and the width, we don't really know anything about it. So what they do to get the perimeter is when you add all the sides together. So we take the width plus 2W for the length, plus 2W for the length, and all that's going to equal 156. So all of these have W's, so we can add all these together, just like with their regular numbers. So we get 2 plus 2, which is 4, plus these 2 other W's, we get 6, so 6W. And then I'm just going to bring down my 156. So I've got a 6 stuck to a W. I'm multiplying those. So I have to do the opposite and divide to get W by itself. So 156 divided by 6 gives me 26. So my width is 26. Now my length is 2 times the width. So all we have to do is multiply 26 by 2 and we get 52. But notice I'm not done. They want to know what the area is. What's the floor area? So, and again, they might try to trick you. There might be choices that have 26 and 52. But to get the area, all we do is multiply these together. And when we do that, we get 1,352 square feet. All right, that's it. I'm going to email you some worksheets to work on too, but hopefully this was helpful. All right, I'll talk to you on Thursday.